Hi everybody, it's Malachi, Dawson. Welcome back to Gen Z on the Narrow Road, the podcast. I'm so incredibly excited for today's episode. Let's hop into it. Okay everybody, let's go ahead and hop into today's episode. I'm really excited because this has been something that's been on my heart really heavily recently, and I want to talk about friendships. I want to make this episode kind of exploring what a good friendship, what a bad friendship looks like, feels like, how to know if you're in a friendship that's not good for you, and how to know how to get out of that, and how to find and wait on the Lord to send you those right people. And so this is going to be like a guide to finding the right friends, if you will. So let's get into today's episode. I do want to go ahead and kind of base this episode off of this scripture, and it's out of Amos 3 verses 3. It says, "Can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction?" Wow. I'm gonna say that one more time. Can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction? I think that's so good, because if you just literally think about that, how can two people, how can two friends walk together if they do not agree on where they're going to end up? And so with that being said, I want to talk about friendships today. So if you are wanting to strengthen your kingdom friendships, I already did film an episode on this. You guys can go on our podcast. There's a little playlist of all our podcasts, and I already kind of went over what a good friendship should look like and what it should feel like and how to strengthen each other. And I want you guys to go and watch that. But I do want to talk about two things today about maybe you're in the wrong kind of friendship. So this is going to be kind of like, let's say you're starting to pursue the Lord and you're looking to find the right friends around you. A question I get asked a lot, and I see a lot of my other fellow content creator friends get asked, is how did you find this group of people? How did you find these kind of friendships? And I even saw a video of these two friends just living like so much joy for the Lord, and they were like almost, they were talking about having like childlike faith, like how they just had how incredible God was, and how they got to pursue God together as best friends. They just recently moved, and so I've been loving watching their journey. But one of the #1 comments that I saw on their video was, "I wish I had a friendship like that," or "I wish I had a friendship like that." And I know even for me, like, I am a girl that loves her relationships. I love to have good solid friendships and things like that. But a big question for me was, okay, how do I find those type of friendships? So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. So whenever I started pursuing the Lord, there was a time where I was living kind of lukewarm, and then I went from living lukewarm to living on fire for God. Whenever you have those internal changes where you start to pursue the Lord, you begin to have a desire to spend more time with Him, outwardly things are going to change as well. So in your own life, if something inwardly changes in you, outwardly you are going to start acting different. And that's incredible. That is such a blessing. That is a blessing from the Lord. But what happens is whenever you outwardly are beginning to change, your friendships will change as well. So let's talk about two different types of friends that you probably should not be that good friend, that you should not remain close with, if you will. So the first one I want to talk about is this. They just have different passions and different desires than you. This one can look like you're starting to pursue the Lord, you get on fire for God, and you start to want to pursue Him more than worldly things. And so let's say you had friends that are still lukewarm and they're still pursuing worldly things. Then there becomes that, oh wait, I want to go to church on a Saturday night. Like, I want to go to youth group more, or I want to go to a worship night. I don't want to go hang out with those people anymore. Then there becomes that rift between, oh gosh, well, I want to do this and they still want to live for the world. And I'm not saying that you should ever burn a bridge and stop being friends with someone, but I am saying that sometimes you have to learn to distance yourself so that you can grow. So I know that for me personally, I'll start off with a little story of, let me think about what time this was, almost 3 years ago, which is crazy. I think like 3.5 almost, I don't know, something like that. I had been living kind of a lukewarm lifestyle. I was a junior in high school, and I was just kind of not like living for the world, but I wasn't living on fire for God. So I was in a lot of friendships. They were great friends, like awesome girls, but they weren't exactly pursuing the Lord. whenever I went away and I had that encounter with God, if you guys know my testimony, you know how all of this went. I even have a podcast episode. It's the very first episode on the podcast talking about my testimony. But if you guys have listened to that, or if you've been following me, you know that I had an encounter with the Lord. And I was in Alabama at the college I go to now. And so I come back home to Texas and everything about me was different. Like everything. And so within a month, I had lost every single friend and my boyfriend at the time. And so all of those friendships I had, the people that I was always with, immediately changed because I inwardly was encountered by the Lord. So it was like a weird process of, okay, I can't really hang out with those people anymore because they're pursuing things differently than me. Now, there also has been times where whenever I was so hungry for the Lord, it drew hunger out of other people, and then they began to pursue the Lord. And in a lot of ways that also happened. I did have friends that they began to pursue the Lord and things like that, but for the most part, all the people that I was close with kind of started to distance themselves from me. But let's talk about whenever you are changed, you begin to not be friends with who you used to be friends with. There's that separation. So whenever I got encountered by the Lord, I came back home, and my very two best friends, I took them out to lunch, and we went to Chick-fil-A, of course. And so we were sitting there and we were talking, and I was like so on fire for God. Like that's all I could talk about. Like I literally could not stop talking about how good God was and how like it wasn't a religion anymore. I had a relationship with him. Like I was encountered by him, and I was so on fire, and I was so hungry for him. And I began to just pour out my heart to, at the time, my best friends. And I remember like just talking and talking, like I was getting just so excited. And I opened up my eyes to look at them, and they're just blank staring. And they were just like, that's good for you. I'm so happy for you. And I was like, yeah, so when do we start? Like, when are we going to start taking our high school? When are we going to start having revivals here? Like, I was just so excited. And they were just like, they just didn't feel that same passion. They didn't feel that same desire. And that's not a knock to them at all. It was because I was encountered by God, and I was so on fire for him that I wanted them to experience that same thing, but they weren't yet in the same place that I was. So we naturally distance, and it's okay because I still pray for them, and I still want them to get encountered the same way I did. But at that time, if I would have stayed best friends with them, if I would have stayed hanging out with them all the time, the fire I had for God might not have kept going because they weren't on fire. And so if you continue to remain around people that don't want to grow in their relationship with the Lord, it begins to put out your fire because you're letting yourself stay around soil that's not ready to grow. And so, like I said earlier, you never want to burn a bridge, but there are times where you have to take a step back. And you have to learn that it's okay to be alone for a little bit. Because I remember that was my junior year, and I went into my senior year not really having that many friends. In fact, I didn't have any friends at my high school. Like I was still like knew everyone and everything. Like no one necessarily hated me, but I just didn't have those close friends anymore. And so as a senior going into your last year of school, you know, you're thinking I should be rich in friendships. I should be enjoying this, and I wasn't. And at my high school I go to, I really can't say that I had many friends my senior year. I didn't. I had a couple that were, you know, I had a couple of friends. But I had to learn that it's okay to be alone, and I can never let that loneliness draw me back to old friendships that God had moved me away from. So you have to learn that it's okay to be alone. And that just goes right back to that verse that I shared with you guys. Can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction? I think about someone that I was very close with in high school, and I look at where she's at now, because obviously I'm graduated, like I've been out of high school for a while, but I think about where some of my other friends' lives are now. I don't want to be where they're at. That's not a knock to them, but you don't want to stay partnered in friendships that are going in a direction that you don't want to go. You have to find people that want to grow with you in the Lord. And like I said, never ever ever burn a bridge. I'm begging you guys, don't ever burn a bridge and try to pull away from someone. But you can't stay in friendships that don't want to grow. You have to get around people that desire to grow, that desire to push you closer to God. And so once you've moved on and you've grown in the Lord, then that's whenever you can start teaching and evangelizing to them and pulling them up. But whenever you're kind of like a baby Christian phase and you're just now learning to grow in the Lord, you're just now reading the Bible, you're just now reading the Gospels, and you're brand new to all this, sometimes it's hard to stay partnered in those friendships where they're not wanting to grow. Like, you sometimes have to pull yourself away and get invested in this. Because I remember feeling very, very alone my high school year. And I remember I was just out there to love everyone. Like, I had so much pure love within me to just love everyone. But I wasn't necessarily feeling that back, which is fine. But I remember just being like, gosh, like my senior year just should not feel like this. Like, I should have good friends. And so even the night whenever I graduated, I remember everyone was going to graduation parties, everyone was going to hang out, and I went and ate with my family, and then I went home, and I remember sitting on bed and being like, it's over. Like, all my high school years are over, and I don't have any friends that I graduated with. Like, I was just kind of like alone, which is fine. But I remember begging to God, saying, God, please send me the right friends. And a year and a half maybe later, I can say that that prayer was answered in full, because I am so rich in friendships now. And it's okay to be alone, because in that moment I was alone. And you know what, I could have been like, you know what, I'll just go to the high school parties, just one last one. You know, I just graduated, let's just go to one more. And I could have settled for being around the wrong crowd and the wrong people, but I didn't. Instead, I prayed, God, send me the right ones. And he did. And God answered that prayer in full. I'm telling you, don't ever let your loneliness drag you back to friendships that will not serve you. So that's the first friendship I want to talk about. The second one is this. This one's a little bit more tougher, because this is the friendships that contain jealousy and insecurity. These are a little bit harder to talk about because these friendships hurt. So I'm going to share a story. I'm just one of those people that is like super happy-go-lucky. Like, I just love everyone. And so a lot of times whenever I meet someone, and also because if you guys also follow me, I do have a ministry called The Move. So I was always having teenagers come in and hang out with me on Saturday nights. I was preaching to them. We were going out to eat after. I was just pouring into so many young people's lives, which was incredible. But I was always meeting new people. And so an incredible gift that the Lord has given me is to look past a lot of people's wrongs and look for the best in people. And that is such a blessing. But sometimes whenever you're becoming friends with people, you don't see some of the blaring red flags in that, and you only see the good, which is awesome. And I believe that's what Jesus wants me to do. Like, he wants me to look for the good in people and call that out of people. And I love that gift that I have. But sometimes there are people that I've been friends with that secretly did not like me, that actually had it out for me. And what happens was, sometimes if you view those kind of friendships as you get offended by them or you get hurt by them, that's whenever you start getting hurt. But the way I've had to view them is, okay, hurt people hurt people. And if hurt people don't get healed, they continue to bleed on other people that did not hurt them. And so the Lord pruned my heart so much by letting me view people that probably had hurt me. Because I'm telling you, if you're in ministry, you know that there's going to be people that hurt you very much. People that you would do anything for. People that you pour out to. People that you just love on. People that you want to see succeed. They can often, not often, but sometimes there are people that come back and just stab you in the back. And it can hurt. But you know what? That's life. I mean, that happens to everyone, and it's okay. But learning to forgive quickly and not take anything offensively has helped me so much. But that's such a sidetrack. Anyways, you have to learn that whenever people are rude to you, and this doesn't even have to be someone that you're friends with, it could just be someone that is just rude to you in general, you have to realize, okay, they're just hurting on the inside. So I'm not going to take that offensively, because I want them to get healed. And so instead of feeling that hurt that they've tried to cause me, I'm going to pray for them. And so that's how you have to kind of view things. But anyways, let's talk about the friends that sometimes can be jealous of you. So there are times that the Lord will bless you, and I believe that he will. And there are going to be people that have been waiting on a blessing, and sometimes if they see you get blessed, they can get insecure or jealous, and then they start being a little bit rude to you, things like that. So I want to talk about that. The reason you can't have people in your life that are jealous of you or insecure of you is because of this story I'm about to tell you. So this was not recent, this was a couple of years ago. I was sitting eating with a group of my old friends that I used to be friends with, and I was sitting there, and I, at this point, really didn't do much with my social media. Like, I did YouTube, and that was about it. But I was kind of struggling with the fear of man. Like, I was like, oh gosh, you know, like I wanted to post, but I was a little bit scared. But I knew in my heart, like from a young age, like I knew I wanted to do social media, and I know I wanted to preach the gospel online and in person and all those things. And so I knew I wanted to do that. So I was sitting there, and I was honestly in such a good mood. At this time in life, I had one of my first really cool opportunities come in. I got to work on a little piece for a very big merch company at the time, and that was like my first like kind of big thing that happened to me, and it was such a blessing from the Lord. And I was just like really excited at this point, because it gave me like a lot of hope that, okay, God is watching out for me, and he's also opening up doors for me. Like, God wants me to step into the content creation realm and start posting for Jesus and lead so many people to the Lord. And I've gotten the opportunity to do those things. But at this time in my life, I wasn't doing that. Like, I was wanting to, but I didn't know exactly how to get there. Anyways, I don't know if this is making sense, but I was sitting at a table with my friends, and my friends at the time, and I was like, you know what, guys, I've just decided I'm gonna start posting on social media every single day. Like, I'm gonna start filming those videos that I've always dreamed about. Like, I've always wanted to do this, but I've never fully went in. Like, I'm gonna start posting every single day, and I'm gonna start filming every single day, and it's gonna be awesome. Like, I was so excited. And one of my good friends at the time looked at me, and she was like, that's a terrible idea. She was like, honestly, like, that's just really selfish of you to want to draw people to yourself. And she was like, that's not promoting the Lord, that's promoting you. You need to check your intentions. Like, that's not a good idea. And I remember in that moment, I just felt really stupid. Like, I was like, oh, like, maybe that is selfish, or maybe that is wanting to draw people to me. Like, maybe I am just pursuing this for the wrong reason. And instead of going after what God had obviously wanted me to do, I sat back and was like, oh gosh. And I let those lies that she had poured out weigh in on me. And I didn't post. I didn't do anything until like a month or two later. So later, that friend happened to not be in my life anymore, and the Lord brought that back to my memory, that he wanted me to do those things. And so I started posting, and here I am today, you know, like, and it's been such a blessing. But you need to be around people that want to see you win. And I cannot stress this to you enough. There's a group of friends that are Christians, and I follow them on social media. Like, I just love watching their content. And what they always feel like, I always feel like whenever I watch them, all those girls that are really good friends are each other's #1 fans. Like, they always want to see the other person win. Like, whenever one of them steps out and does something, the other one's the first one to promote them. Like, they're just such good friends, and like, they talk about it all the time. Like, I want to see her win. And like, I want those kind of friendships. I want them. I'll be the first person to say, I want friendships like that. And the Lord has blessed me with people like that. And I'm so thankful, because for so long in my life, I was settling for people that actually didn't want to see me win. That they were actually just wanting to be my friends because they were insecure and they tried to run over me. I mean, I remember being in friendships where they were constantly coming at me, being rude to me. And I remember sitting in some of my old friendships and just being like, I feel like I'm always the target. Like, every time I sit with them, I feel like they just destroy my self-confidence. And the reason I'm even posting about this on social media is not because I want people to feel bad for me, but I want you to be so aware that there are people in your life that they may act like your friends, but they don't want to see you win. And the reason I say that, the reason I bring light to the situation, is because you need to not settle for those kind of friendships. Whenever God has people that are kingdom friendships that want to see you win, they want to see you succeed, they won't let you lay down on your dreams. They're going to help you, they're going to help you pursue all the things that God has put in front of you. They're not going to try to hinder what God has for you. You need people that are going to talk good about you to your face and also behind your back. You need people that are going to stand up for you. I mean, I know that from watching ministry my whole life, because my parents are in ministry, that there are those people that are awesome on a screen or on a TV, but then in the back rooms they may be cutting down other people or gossiping or things like that. But then also I know people that get up there and they preach incredible messages, and then they get off the stage and they are just as humble as they are on stage as they are off stage, and they would defend you in any room. Like, I want to be that kind of friend that stands up for the people even whenever they're not in the room. People that are going to protect you, people that are going to pray for you. Like, I remember begging the Lord to send me friends that are going to pray for me whenever I didn't even ask. People that are going to stand up for me, people that are going to protect me, pray over me, and encourage me, like be such a good friend. I wanted those type of friendships, and the Lord gave them to me. But I had to stop settling for friendships that did not have my best interest in mind, if that makes sense. And so the reason I'm like ranting about that is because I did that for like a year in my life. I settled for friends that actually had it out for me. Like, I mean, I'm sure if you have Instagram or TikTok or things like that, you've seen those like videos, and they're like POV, that one friend that secretly hates you, and everyone like thinks that's funny, but really, like, I used to have friends like that, and it makes me so sad. But anyways, you always want to pray for them, but I want to talk about, kind of take a step back from that. Number one, if there's people like that in your life, number one, you need to move back from them, and you need to pray for them. Whenever they tried to come and hurt me, I was like, instead of taking that offensively, I was like, oh my gosh, they're hurting. Like, they're hurting on the inside. And it makes me almost tear up, because so many people view things in a lens that is so selfish, that they're like, oh my gosh, this person has it out for me, or oh my gosh, this person is so mean, or they're just da-da-da. We need to pray for those people. You have to pray for those people, and then pursue the right friends. Anyways, so with all of that being said, here's what I'm going to close in saying. I want to talk about what a good friend should look like. So this is a quick reminder out of the book of Proverbs. And I want you to, if you are assessing, okay, is this friend right for me? Is this friend wrong for me? If you were like asking yourself that question, is this friend good or bad? I want to answer that question right. How I want to answer that question is this. I'm going to read to you out of Proverbs 27, and I want you to think about your friendship with this person and say, does my friendship with them reflect this verse? And here's what it is. It's Proverbs chapter 27, verses 9. A sweet friendship refreshes the soul. And then also I'm going to read out of Proverbs 27, verses 17. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Another translation says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person's character sharpens another. What that means is that sharp friends won't let you go dull. So you need to ask yourself, okay, do I have friendships in my life that they want the best for me? Because what this is saying is, if you have sharp friends around you, they will sharpen you, and they will not let you go dull. And then it also says a good friendship, a kingdom friendship, should refresh your soul. So I heard this off of one of my favorite pastors. He said, whenever you're in a friendship with someone, pay attention to how you feel after you're done hanging out with them. So let's say you hang out with someone and like then you leave. Are you going home from hanging out with them in a good mood, being like, yes, like I love that friend, like they're so incredible, like they just make me so happy on the inside, or they make me want to pursue Jesus, or the light of Jesus they have within them just literally just radiated my soul, like I feel so good after hanging out with them? Or do you leave crying saying, why don't they like me? Or I feel so insecure, oh I feel so jealous now, or I feel like a terrible person. You need to pay attention to how you feel after you're done hanging out with someone. So this whole episode, I don't want it to seem like really negative, but the reason I share this with you is because I want you to be around good friendships that are going to help you grow. So I wish I could hear this episode 2 years ago today, because I was going into, I want you to have friendships that are going to help you grow in the Lord. If you are looking to kind of study a little bit more about kingdom friendships, I encourage you guys to go listen to my last podcast episode about kingdom friendships. It's just on the playlist on YouTube. You guys can go and find that. But in that, I talked about Mordecai and Esther. How Esther almost gave up. How Esther almost didn't go before the king. And Mordecai said, if you don't take this opportunity, you and your family will perish. But maybe you were born for such a time as this. And so you need those friends in your life that are not going to let you give up on the dream that God has put inside of you. I hope this video gave you guys a lot of wisdom, because this is something that I've walked through a lot in my life. And I want to share about my personal testimonies so that you guys can grow. Like, I want you to hear my stories, and I want you to grow from that. I just want to let you guys know that if you feel like you're in a lonely season, that God is going to bring you the right people, but do not settle for the wrong ones while you're waiting on the right friends to come. Because now I have friends that are family to me. And I just want to pray over you guys, that you guys are going to find the right friends. So God, I just want to pray over every single person watching this video. God, I know how much you adore them. God, I know how precious these people are to you, God. God, I love them just as much as you love them, Father. And I hope that they feel that love right now, Father. I just pray that you are going to shut all the wrong friendship doors. God, if there's anyone in their life that is plotting against them or doesn't have their best interest in mind, God, I pray that you are going to shut that door and you're going to open up the right ones, God. I pray that you are connecting them with the right people. And also, God, I pray that we are becoming the best friend, the good friend, the friend that it describes in the Bible. God, I pray that you're pruning us and sanctifying us to become that friend. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. I do want to encourage you in the last thing that sometimes people aren't doing things just to you. Sometimes you need to become a better person. And I had to learn that too. So I want you to take this and make this your best friend forever. Because whenever I was going through that time where I was losing all of those like toxic friends and things like that, you know what became my best friend? This. Because whenever I felt lonely, I didn't go to my phone, I went to this. And this is where I found peace, because I let this sanctify me and prune me so that whenever the right friends did come, I was ready. Like I was a good person because of this. Let this become your best friend. And let the Holy Spirit and Jesus and God become your best friends and the one that you turn to. I hope this video encouraged you guys. I love you all so much. If you guys are looking for any Christian merch, if you're looking to buy my book or anything like that, or if you're looking just to connect with me on all my social medias, I encourage you guys to go check down in the description box down below. My social media is going to be popped up right after this. So I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Bye. Oh my gosh, why am I about to cry? Anyways.